All right. Welcome to Sharing Heals, a project with many, hey, welcome to Sharing Heals. We're going to try that again. A project with many different insights. This project is meant for you, the viewer, to tune in and give us your story. So right now, we're going to tune in and give our stories as collective stories of transformational experiences through sharing. My name is Brandi Vale, and I am the show host and the creator of this crazy outlook on life. I have a feeling that something else is going on here, something bigger than many people are seeing in the sharing and sharing economy. I think that we've been sharing for a long time. I believe that this is not a new thing. This is something that we've manufactured into yet another economic system, the value of sharing. But remember, guys, this is a human experience. This is a human experience that allows us to continue the conversation. And as I'm live broadcast trying to manipulate the system into a shared experience. So with no further ado, the title for tonight is IMPROV-MENT. I had the honor of speaking in front of an audience and having a workshop just recently at the Hollywood Improv, the famous Hollywood Improv, with really beautiful individuals and creators of this scenario. Training to communicate to people can be a challenge. So let's just have an improv moment. Okay, I know Dinah is on the phone. I know that Filippo is here and Mark, but can we just for a moment put an improv hat on? Pick your hat, any hat. Let's see. So to me, this is an improv moment. If you're just tuning in, this is Sharing Heals. You don't know what to expect when you come here. So I want to introduce one of our most delicious guests, and she is an actress and comedian, and she is also a transformational shamanatrix. Dinah, tune in.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Hi there.
So give me a little bit about you and your story of sharing and the effects of transformation in your life.
I believe that when you share transformation, that's when you really get to have it. You really get to know what you've learned and how you've grown. And it's through sharing that you get to own it. So every time you teach something, you get to own it every time you share it. I don't know how to explain it, but as you share it, you realize to your own self how much you got. It sounds kind of general, but it's not. It's like if I'm sharing something, I mean, we could take an example, which I don't have on hand, but let's just take this moment. I'm kind of irritated because I don't have this set up, and I got here, rushed here from work, right? So right now, it's not how I would have this be. It's like, it's killing my perfectionist inside of me. It's like really bothering me that I'm not on my computer and setting this up properly. I'm on my phone, and I feel like I look crazy. It's not set up right. Okay?
You look beautiful. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Not fishing for compliments. I'm just
we could all do this a little bit if it makes you feel more at home.
No, it's actually not my point. My point is that that I have an understanding that, like, those are thoughts. Those thoughts are running me, and it's something that I can give up to be here and to be present. So right now, I'm just letting you guys know what's true for me, and what's true for me is I'm irritated. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let the irritation go, and so that I can be here and be present. Otherwise, I can't be, and I refuse to not be honest with you guys because that's not real for me. For me to be on this call and be happy about it, I have to give something up. So I'm sharing with you that I'm giving it up so I can be present. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to get your sexy look. So So if you
Yeah.
lay down and then hold up, you know everybody does this in selfie world, right? So if you lay down right now and just let go of trying to be a perfectionist and just do this for the whole conversation, it'll be totally fine. Am I right? Because selfies are fun. So would you agree? Would you agree? Look, this is my show.
Okay, this is so much better. Wait, hold on.
Nice.
See? Oh my
Wait,
God.
hold on.
Don't we all agree that this makes more sense?
I don't know how to do it. You guys.
Another improv moment right here, right now on Sharing. Okay, so I'm going to ask you again. And scene. Are we ready?
I feel like we all need to do that now.
So this is okay. So welcome to Sharing Heals. Sharing Heals is a transformational experience. Sharing is an opportunity to have a reciprocal give. So right now, Dinah Leffert, comedian, actress, transformational, shamanatrix, is going to share with us her experience now as she lays there. How it feels to share.
It's unbelievable. I took your coaching, and I'm on a live show kicked back on my pillow, on my bed. This is the best.
So if you're just joining us, so Dinah is going to give us her story. I recently was on the stage with Dinah. I'm Brandi, the show host and creator of the Sharing Heals project. If you're just joining us, Dinah gave me some really deep insight. She used the word "and." She used the word "and" as to carry on a conversation, and instead of just stopping the conversation and having communication still in the moment where separation begins. She expressed how to do that. She taught me something that was extremely valuable, and I wanted her to tune in and share a little bit more about what that means. There you are.
Well, it was a principle that our friend Filippo and Mark Glazier, they wanted to make sure that that was a part of our improv segment. It was basically my segment to talk about. So what it is the yes and the yes and is one of the most important principles of improv, because you kind of you want to go with whatever is flowing with everyone else in the scene. So and how this applies to life is that most people like myself sort of operate from a no first, not a yes and. So if you think about how you're a no first when somebody asks you if you want to do something or go somewhere or participate in any part of life, most people rather sit in the bleachers and criticize what people are doing. Whereas transformation and sharing is all about participating, being on the court, playing, and so you're a yes. Yes, I want to play, and what's next? Yes, and.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So I'm going to segue into a little bit of an introduction of Filippo and the creator of the Life Changes Network, and then show host and speaker Mark Glazier. And as Filippo presents some of his ideas, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging out there in the street improv-ably. I don't know if that's a word, but I wanted to introduce you improv-ably. I wanted to introduce you. So Filippo Vataggio, host and author and speaker. He's a great coach. I wanted to give you the 2-second window while Dinah's with us on the show. Tell us a little bit about not interventing, but IMPROV-MENT. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's interesting that you were talking about sharing, right? So here I was in an improv class after having taken a lot of classes and after having become a life coach and after having coached a lot of people, I wanted to get back into more comedy and acting again, as far as just using the tools for my life, for the radio show, for for my singing. So there are great tools in acting and speech giving and in improv. So I went in with that in mind, and I also had my life coach hat on. And the yes and that you asked Dinah to speak about, came up, and it was something that I got like, wow, this is so important for life. This isn't just important for comedy or just to move a scene forward. This is how we could move our life forward. This is how we could fix some of our relationships. This is how we could not ruin certain moments, right? And the sharing part, to your point, Brandi, was I wanted to share it with everybody in the class, and they were like, yeah, yes, and well, no, not just for funny, not just for improv, but yes, and like, do you get it? And of course they didn't get it, and I was just starting to get it. So starting to work on, okay, where does this apply exactly? How do we make this understandable for everybody else? And I think that's what we all did. I know that's what we all did, because we keep being told over and over again that at the Hollywood Improv, when we did our workshop last weekend, we got a lot of people totally getting it and using it still. We get people calling us saying, guess what I did? Yes, and. Or I don't say but anymore, or I'm trying not to.
Yeah, I wrote an article prior to this as a promotion, and I missed the yes and the before the and I apologize. Anybody watching this right now, I apologize. It's yes and this is a technique that Filippo and Mark and Dinah can all educate us on, and I'm sure in the future, and if you guys are wanting to know more about this process, what this has to do with sharing and what this has to do with sharing economy is about communication. And I want to just keep on wrapping it back around that, because the experiences that I've had as a home sharer could turn out pretty harsh, if I didn't yes and. So the yes and how can I serve you? Yes and what do you like to eat in the morning? It all shifts the relationship. And so Sharing Heals Project, just kind of plugging a little here, what Sharing Heals is how do we become deeply connected to strangers? I mean, I've never met these people before. How do I get into their hearts, their souls, their minds, their mother's recipe, right? That they share with me when they're home sharing with me. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity for you guys to talk about how improv-ment in the life, right? So life improv-ment, what that is. And so Mark, give a little bit about you, who you are and what you do as a sharer.
Well, it's interesting that we're taking kind of my body of work and putting it into this sharing discussion, because I've always been one, even as a kid, to kind of overshare. I've always loved, in fact, some of the things that makes me the happiest is to share experiences, share something I may have learned, share a discovery, share something I have. You and I, Brandi, have talked prior to this show, many hours and now many years about this concept of sharing and how systems and the general economy is moving in this direction. And you've used examples like, the home sharing and ride sharing and things like this. From our show, Life Changes, from the Life Improv-MENT workshop, from the transformational space, sharing really is about sharing our energy, our attitude, our state of mind. And so what these are tools to help you in real time, which is when the surprises happen, when the improv moments happen. They're tools that help you to be able to share a better energy, a better experience with those you're coming in contact with, either people that you're already relating to or people that you've just met. And you've probably heard the old phrase, kicking the cat. That happens at the end of the day if you've had a really crappy day and this happened and that happened and your boss did this.
I've never heard it.
But maybe it's an old phrase. We don't kick any cats here. But metaphorically speaking, right, where you get home and suddenly, you know, you let go on whoever is first, and it's usually your loved one, your partner, your spouse. And because you haven't had a set of tools, or maybe you didn't have the ability to release some of the tougher things that went on, or you weren't releasing in a healthy way or sharing in a healthy way throughout the day, and then suddenly it just came unglued. And that's what life improvement is about. That's what life changes is about, is ultimately to have learned, we've practiced on ourselves, in our lives, and with each other to share better, because ultimately you're then creating your world. If you dump your stuff on somebody, you're going to get it back either from them or from somebody else. But if you put it out there in the universe, it's going to come back one way or the other. So I really think it's sharing at an energetic level, which is ultimately creating your environment, your experiences as you go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, Dinah, I wanted to go back to what you were saying just a few minutes ago. You said the value of sharing is the sharing. Right? Reciprocity without having to ask. So share a little bit about what that means to you.
I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what you mean.
So your comment earlier was the value of sharing is the sharing.
Yeah, you want me to say more about that? I'm just, all I was saying was really in the sharing of transformation, and I don't want to sound too conceptual, it kind of needs to be something more personal. So,
yeah, give us an example. Give us like a funny example.
I'm sorry, guys. It's not you. It's me.
Which is the personal part. It's almost the vulnerability of sharing. Like you opened up the show by sharing your truth, your moment, right? Your current headspace.
Yeah, like there's nothing prepared here. I'm just speaking from my heart. So I don't have, you know, this was like a, hey, do you want to be on this call? So I'm on the call. So it's not anything, I don't have anything prepared. I'm just speaking straight from like, what could I tell you from my personal life? And really it's my comedy is, you know, in comedy there's like one of your biggest threats is somebody stealing your jokes. So what somebody told me was, the more personal you get, the least chance you're going to have of somebody stealing your jokes. So I really went and looked how I could write my craft, like it's my craft to write stuff, personal stuff. You know, about like being the youngest in the family and what that's like, and at first, when I first started doing comedy, it was kind of like here, these things happened to me, sort of like these like abuse stories that I thought were funny or whatever. But like now, you know, when I share stuff, I'm sharing it with love. Like, I don't know, you know, you don't know who in your family or how much time you have with people. And so for me, when I presence, if I'm talking about people, it's because I'm recreating them for myself. So every time I get to share about, anytime I'm on stage and I share about anything personal, I'm recreating these people for the audience. Mm-hmm. So even like long after, you know, people might be gone out of my life, every time I share about them, I get to be with them. I'm recreating their energy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So as you're speaking, I keep on thinking about what my vision is for the sharing economy and why this message of sharing heals, and why is it healing? Why is sharing healing, right? I believe that we are coming upon a time in this new economy where authenticity is going to be a huge value. And the uniqueness of the share is going to transform into a monetary exchange. And I think that monetary exchange is what really is currency. So what we're doing now, from my opinion and from my perspective, is that we're exchanging money because we're paid to do a job for somebody else, or we have survival ethics that we've just been programmed with. And I believe that now, as an independent social entrepreneur with a laptop, with what Dinah says, what Filippo says, and what Mark is saying, that the uniqueness of our opportunity to share valuable and value equals the values of the entire currency exchange. And that doesn't have to be in a dollar bill. That can be in a personal agreement. I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to give you a car ride. It could just be an ear. It can be a listening ear. And how that transmutes into other currency is basically up to the individual and how much they share.
Well, Brandi, like with that, I mean, I can speak on that. Like, the other stuff's a little too general for me to answer, but I can speak on that because I have roommates now, and I haven't had roommates since, I was in my 20s. Like, at this point in my life, I really thought, when I was forced to move out of my old place because there was a flood there, that I would get another place by myself. And now I live with roommates who have shown me the value of sharing. I mean, we do so many things for each other. My roommate has dinner waiting for me when this is done. And we just, he doesn't have a car, like whatever. It's like these things that enrich my life that I would have said no to because I would have thought that I'm too old to have roommates. When really my roommates have fast become best friends, and we have given each other so much more than I could have ever asked for. And they're lovely people.
And guys, feel free to jump into this conversation. I think I made the terms a little bit jumbled. I'll just clarify it. It is when you give your personal values into a relationship, it equals a value in this new marketplace. And Mark or Filippo, if you want to speak on what you're feeling on that.
Filippo, you want that, or you want me to run with it?
I'll let you run with it, but I'd like to preface it with this. It's interesting. The Life Changes show was started because of sharing. Sharing in the sense that we were sharing with each other during really difficult life changes and talking about how to get through them, how to get past them, how to do this better. Is this going to happen again? And if so, how to do it better next time? That kind of thing. And while we were sharing with each other, Dorothy, Donahue, Mark Lejeune, and myself, while we were sharing with each other, at one point we said we should share this information with other people. So, Mark?
Well, and that the sharing principle goes back to something that Brandi just said, and I think this is something that we can expand upon, because we as a society from some time in between the sandbox and childhood and adolescence are coached and taught out of sharing. We are then encouraged to compete, to win at all costs, to kill or be killed, to whatever other catchphrase you want. That takes you out of the sharing mentality and into the look out for yourself, get as much as you possibly can mentality, which is finite, is destructive, and it is contrary to where we all were again in that sandbox, or as kids, where we're excited to share ideas, to share a game together, to share what we've created. But in this, I think where the big disconnect is through that process, we, and based on the monetary system, we have devalued ourselves as individuals. The value was then placed on the money. Chores, you get money for chores, you get money for your jobs, everything was about how much money you could make. And so the value now of your wallet became more important than the value of yourself, your energy, your time spent, your presence, your smile. Did you light the people up in the room and everybody's happy? So you're suddenly just there and you're just sharing yourself, and there's a value, like that smile that Dinah's giving us.
I know.
So the more that we can wait, there you go. It's so true that we need to reconnect with the true intrinsic value, the self-worth. And you walk around to a lot of and look at a lot of the worker population or just individuals, and they're disconnected and or feel valueless by just being them. And that is what is shifting, and that is what is being revalued, is the true human potential, the time that is spent, the recognition that when somebody takes a moment out of their day to give you something, to share something, that has worth. And so there's a shift from working for something and taking away that monetary exchange to exchanging of energies and or resources. The other light that went on, and I'll hand it back to the group here, but the other light went on for me at a very young age. I realized that my neighborhood didn't necessarily need 12 lawnmowers. Yeah. And it became it seemed obvious to me that we have all this, and then it was almost like, who's got the better lawnmower? He's got the driving lawnmower. Well, this does the bag, and there's all these different things. But at the end of the day, maybe we can share one or two of those lawnmowers, and where does the rest of that money go? That could go to other cool stuff. Maybe back then it was more toys that we could play with. Or when you go at a broader level, it's how many people could be fed with the money that are being spent from all these lawnmowers that are sitting in the garages not being used, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it gets, it starts to shine a light on the society and the fact that where we are in a world that wasn't paying attention to how much we could really be sharing, and then how much greater our abundance could be just by doing so.
Right. So I wanted to take note. This past weekend, I was a part of a community gathering for policy in the city of Los Angeles over in my neighborhood for home sharers. And in the room filled about 200 people, and I had about 60 seconds to say my story so that policy would get passed. And there was a bunch of us that were speaking on behalf of home sharing. What I recognized was the people sitting in the room where there was anger and hurt and pain and fear and lack and not enoughness coming from the pores of these individuals, speaking about losing their home if we keep on home sharing, speaking about losing their jobs in the hospitality industry if we keep on sharing, that those people, and I apologize if this is going to be rubbing the edge here, were paid to be there. They were paid to be there. And they were paid by a company to be there. And those companies currently aren't, not that I'm aware of, and I might be speaking out of time, they are opposite of where we're at right now. So my positioning with the policymaker was, look, this is going to be a $335 billion industry in the next 10 years. Either our city gets on board or it doesn't get on board. And what does that look like for all of us? We're upgrading our homes from the outside of the paint, making our lawns look better. We're caring for our linens. We have new towels. We're doing this for people who are visiting. Yes, there should be policies that are made, but what's happening in this interim is that we're scaling up the quality of life because we're caring more about our material items with passion. And we're also sitting with our host, and we're having an experience that goes a long way. So, I mean, it's just, there's a transition, and I think it's an extraordinary time right now to be living in this type of economy. because we do have an opportunity. What that opportunity looks like for us individually is going to differ. But at its core, our message of improv-ment, life improv-ment, is about seeking inside to connect. And so I thank you for allowing me to share and bringing that forward. I wanted to have Filippo kind of tune in more about like this value. This is if currency is value right now in the monetary system, what is the emotional value overall, the human value in sharing?
You know, Mark hit the nail on the head when he said earlier that we as people haven't valued ourselves, so we don't value what we give, the time we give. Actually, Dinah was sharing at the beginning that she was asked to be here on the call, and she's here. And so just her presence and all of our presence here is already something, as you've acknowledged, Brandi, and right back at you. So
it was already a yes and.
Well, you know, you also said, Dinah, you said, I had to give up something in order to be here. And I also just had that conversation about learning. We have to give up something in order to learn something new.
Yeah, and really it's just a mental thing. It's not, I don't actually have to sacrifice anything. It's what I'm giving up are this chatter in my head about how this isn't how I wanted this to go. Chatter. Just a bunch of noise in my head, when really it's just like, okay, yes, and next.
You know, but that right there is the important part, because the chatter comes from the fact that we are programmed beings. We're used to doing things a certain way. So you're asking people that are within organizational structures that have their own way of doing business, that have relied on this, that their families are relying on their income, that there are certain things that they're set on, to suddenly open up to the possibility of something different. That in itself can be scary for people. Yet, if everyone is in a sharing mode, and if everyone's giving, then that means everybody else is receiving. And so now we're in that, we're crossing that bridge of going from, a taking and capturing mentality to a sharing mentality, at the same time of kind of reconnecting to our personal value. So, like to what you were saying, Dinah.
Yeah, it's like you got to kind of care about people to care about what this is.
Yeah.
Yes. It's really kind of like it comes from a place of connecting, like really wanting to connect, and through comedy. And I wish everybody could had that path, because like really only something I stumbled upon in comedy, where it's in stand-up you can't, it's not like acting. You can't just get up there and do a monologue. You have to connect with real people, look in their eyes, and your set's gonna go really great if you connect, or it's gonna go really bad if you can't connect. And the more people I've connected with, I don't have to know who they are to know who they are. I know they're humans. I know they have stories and pain and restrictions and constraints, and the past is, holding them down, and I know they're part of humanity. That's all I need to know to care.
Yeah.
Dinah, I'm so glad you shared that. I didn't know that about you, although I could sense that about you. The fact that you care, I totally knew, but the fact that you actually have given that much thought as to who's in the audience. And with me, that actually happened in an improv moment, to understand who's in the audience and to relate to them in a certain way. I was doing one of my first big shows in front of a large audience, and I peeked out through the curtain, and I saw all these people, and I was a little nervous, or a lot nervous. And my older brother, who has known me all my life, he happened to come backstage to just say, break a leg, and saw me nervous. It's not like I was doubled over throwing up or anything, but he could tell. He's like, "You're nervous." And I said, yeah, look at all those people out there. He said, you've been doing this ever since you were a little kid. Whenever our family had people over, you would share a magic trick, you would share a joke, you would share playing the piano or share a song or share a story. You've been doing this all your life. And I said, yeah, but I knew those people. He says, when you get out in the audience, you'll see someone that reminds you of grandma. You'll see someone that reminds you of Aunt so-and-so and Uncle so-and-so. And he says, they're in the audience because they're the same people. They're people like the people in the living room. And when I made that connection, it really was true. I really, you know, that's my aunt, that's my uncle, that's my cousin. They weren't my blood relations, but in my mind, it's like I'm sharing with them. And all of a sudden, we were all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody
I
get
had an improv. Hello. I had an improv moment where I get this anxiety before I'm about to go and do a presentation because all of this is really new to me, and it's about what I feel, and then I have to bring in data. And to bring in data and have that come off clear to an audience, I get a little nervous. And so being at the improv with you guys, it was one of those moments I surrendered the night before. I was like, no, it's improv, you know? And it was one of the better presentations that I've had because I dug deeper inside my soul to remember the moment where I first had ownership of something as a child. And then that spun off into a story of like how I was dishonest with my parents. And then that spun off into a story, if you guys recall, into where I started as an adolescent, where I, you know, had to fend for myself, that kind of thing. And then that grew into what I call today is like, you know, having material goods that define my life and so on and so forth. So it's really, the whole conversation about healing is really personal, and it's hard to articulate to those people who aren't ready for a healing experience. When we become vulnerable, we become in a state, and that state can go a bunch of different ways. And as a home sharer, becoming vulnerable is part of the beginning state. Having or losing a job, having a new job, losing a job, having no money, having some money, being an entrepreneur, working for someone. There's all these states of consciousness that, like Mark has said, program you into who you think you are. So the idea behind sharing heals says, I'm going to erase all these programs that you've put onto me and label me with who I think I am, into a state of, I'm completely the leader of this. How am I going to show up today? Am I going to bake cookies and leave them on the table with a specialty note that says, I'm happy that you're staying in my home? Am I going to play a guitar solo with the person staying in my living room?
Awesome.
You know what I mean? There's so many different levels of how we can approach the sharing aspect. But having you guys be a part of this conversation and know that you guys are coaches in transforming the conversation into the betterment of the life of all of us is a massive value in society if we all did this. I brought up numbers at $330 billion something because it shows what we can do, what we have access to. If that much money is being exchanged, and if that value of that exchange shifts into more conscious shifting, imagine what our world looks like tomorrow. I'm like, really grab that idea. Our homes opening up, our cars being shared, collaboration, transparency, community. I mean, I can go on and on. I think Filippo knows more than I, so he should probably talk now.
It does take vulnerability, though, doesn't it? It takes being authentic. It takes, like, saying, you know, I need help, or like I have a lot of pride. I don't and I have ADHD, and so it's hard. Like, certain things don't come easy to me. I can organize anybody else's room, but it comes to mine, it's really a problem. So it's kind of takes vulnerability to, and I know I'm not Filippo, and I wasn't the person called. But I just wanted to say, Brandi, you're right. It does take vulnerability. It takes being authentic, and that takes something. Because all we're programmed to do is pretend like we're okay, and you know, try to make it. We're trying to make it. It's like it's not making it anymore. That making it thing is it's like it's bankrupt now. The world that we're living in now.
That vulnerability, you know, I say that it's the first step to healing, the healing process, because we think that we're something, and that coat, as soon as it comes off, of course the coat is very near to us, right? Like, whoa, the first thing that goes wrong, let me put the coat back on and say no. But the second that your coat comes off, right, fear, and somebody reaches their hands out to you and gives you a hug, it shifts the entire experience, which is the alchemical and meta that I see running through the veins of humans today. And, you know, maybe it's a little woo-woo, and I can do that because I'm Brandi Vale, but it literally is happening to all of us, and vibrationally, everybody's at a different space right now, and they'll always be at a different space. But evolutionarily, if we are the first person to say, here's the hug as they take off their coat in that vulnerable state, they're more likely to take off 2 coats the next time. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not Filippo, so I'm going to let Filippo speak as well.
Mark, go ahead. Actually, you do a good me. I'll defer. You're a better you than I am. You know what's interesting is that we're embarking upon so much of this together, like life improv-ment. Actually, I've taught life improv-ment by myself, and I've made money doing it, and it's been good doing it, and all that. And this opportunity, or this thought came to me as, what if we shared this? What if it was something that we all did as a group? Because there are people that resonate with what I bring to the table, absolutely, but there are so many other people that can bring a message that I can't bring in a way that can be brought. A message, the same message, even the exact same words, coming from a female instead of coming from a male, right? Coming from a Hispanic person, coming from a comedian, so if we bring all of these elements together and sharing the information from the many aspects of all of us, had a greater impact. And I couldn't have been happier with what was happening on stage with the interaction of each of the people that went in there. And Rick Overton, how great was that? He wasn't even asked to. He was asked to do a particular piece, which he was going to come and do, but then because of Dinah, she invited him to come and be part of the whole thing, and he started to interject throughout. And here is this man who has so much wisdom, so many years in Hollywood, and was best friends with Robin Williams, and you know, he's been in the upper echelons of film and comedy and all that, was sharing these words of wisdom that even if they came through me, which they couldn't have because I don't have that experience, but we have a video of him that I wish we could share right now, but at the end of like 1 minute of him sharing just like an improv moment, everybody burst out into applause. But it was like, yes, because they got that, and how perfect is that? And so as Mark was saying, I wasn't in this fear place of, oh, it's mine, I came up with it, it's got to be me. It was in this, hey, wait a minute, this could be so much better if it was more of us And I love everybody that came to the table and said, I want to do it too. And then it just became greater than the sum of the parts of who we are.
Right. Yeah.
Well, as you were saying, the interjections, that's sharing, and it was the moment that everybody there at one point in time contributed and had something to share, and then much like this conversation, once one thing is said and you inspire a thought or a feeling within each other, that continues to grow, and that was the beautiful thing about Life Improv-MENT, and I believe it's what we do every day. We're here to relate. At the end of the day, you can take your jobs and your career paths and your passions, and all of those are tools to experience this life. But we're here. I don't think anybody would have pressed the button to come down here if we had to do it alone. We're here to relate, and that means with our family, our friends, and with people that are going to challenge us, people that are going to chew our last nerve, and people that are going to flow with us. And that's what Life Improv-MENT is about, and that's what the sharing economy is ultimately about, is relating better, sharing better. In fact, I think another word for the sharing economy is a serving economy.
Yes.
We're serving each other.
I agree. I started using a hashtag called Live, Serve, Work, Purpose. And live, serve, work, purpose to me is that nothing is separate. Nothing that we do is separate. We're all energy forming something from nothing. We're humans, but we're having a human experience, what's been labeled now as capital. And if you look at capital, human capital, it's a bunch of people building something. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're strengthening an economy, and I like to also say a term called the eco of me, the economy. Big M-E there. This is the ecology of what my life is as I'm serving you and serving myself too. And so that's a good segue into a monetary system that we can survive with a really luxurious life by living this sharing economy.
Right, and I think, Brandi, it's like this, we've kind of come to this. I think this all kind of sparked around, like, all this sharing, ride-sharing, Ubers, TaskRabbit. There's all these things for sharing that are emerging in the mass marketplace, because our economy tanked.
Right.
So it's like our economy tanked, and suddenly, people were starting to see it, because I come from hippies, so they're starting to see it my parents' way. It's like this communal idea is not so bad, especially when push comes to shove. We really need each other, and the worst thing that could happen to us is actually the best thing that could happen to us, because the more we have, the more individualized it becomes, and the more separate we become. And I think for me, if I could really share what I want to say here, is that that's what it's about, is that this like desperation breeds innovation. That's really true. It's like people really started to need each other in a way that Americans didn't have to before, and to go into that direction, and to find actually that that's the best thing that could have happened to us. Did we lose Brandi? This is hilarious.
I think so, except in the meantime, I had lost our video a long time ago, so I'm out here in Google Hangout land and can't see anybody.
Oh.
But I can hear you, and it sounded fantastic.
We could hear you, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, we could see you.
I'm glad. Good.
Yeah.
But I think what you say, Dinah, and to continue on with what Brandi was saying, I mean, she used some numbers, but I think all of our stats and all of our numbers in terms of what's possible in the sharing economy are completely erroneous, because it's a shift unlike anything we've ever experienced. If you start to employ real interaction, you know, I was walking one day home from the farmer's market, and it was towards the end of the day, and they were wrapping up the unsold goods. And as I walked from these piles of fruits and vegetables, this was at the time I lived downtown in Los Angeles, I was very quickly stepping over homeless people. And once again, the juxtaposition was so painfully obvious to me, is here's people in need, and here's that, but because these people don't have enough money for that, the connection wasn't made, which was valuing money over the lives of the people that were lying on the street. I bring this up because this is changing. I think it's France that just employed a new law suggesting that I think its stores can no longer just discard or throw out their food. They have to partner with food clinics or food sharing charities.
That's great.
So starting to employ, right, moving to sharing. It's no longer that profit is the only driver. Now it's a shift of economy of scale. Suddenly those numbers, when you expand that out into every sector and every potential opportunity for service, goes beyond anything that our economy has valued. I think we really start to break the rules and reestablish a new way of being.
Well, and I think, you know, you guys, like, look at us. We're on this new, like, Google Hangout chat. Like, internet has blown information to people. Like, it's like we're connected with people. Anybody from around the world that has internet can be here right now. So these things are happening by virtue of being able to connect through technology, and these things are changing because if you keep us down and you keep us unable to communicate, then those changes can't be made. But now that, you know, the kicked cat is out of the bag. Mark.
Wait, Mark.
Well, cat's out of the bag. Like, those things are starting to happen because really the people have spoken. Like, it's not okay. Like, there's a rule in America where restaurants can't give homeless people food because they can sue the restaurant if they get food poisoning. Yeah. And that stops people from getting fed too. And that, I heard, is also changing.
So, wow. So many great points that everybody's brought to the table, and I'm extremely grateful. And we're just up a few minutes to the hour. I wanted to recognize a couple of players in the industry that I've interviewed on this show, and people doing some really great work in corporate, allowing us to have these life experiences with Airbnb and Lyft, and learn Airbnb with the founder on this show, who literally is giving quality education for hosts to become better hosts. And, you know, there's tutorials that you can download. There's calculators to understand how much you have to spend in order to make a certain amount of money. What's the quality of life for the people coming and visiting? There's really great tools. Coral.life is an application that allows real great communication between local restaurants, places to visit, you know, so we're bringing local economy back too, and that's on the rise as well. There's these tools. Now all we need, right, or all we're requesting, and people tuning in, is to just dive deep into who you are as the product, we'll say. You know, the product of me. That's what I look at this New World economy as. This is the product of me. I am a product, not a byproduct, but I'm creating an entire campaign of personally be love. And so I want to entice you and the viewers or anybody tuning in to this Sharing Heals project, or just share, to like sit with that for a moment and start to see the value of who you truly are. And go to the website. So I'm going to recap right now. We're here with Sharing Heals, and it's a transformational, collaborative conversation. So if you have transformation that's happened in your life through sharing, any type of sharing, please submit on the website at www.sharingheals.com. Please look up our friends who were on this conversation with Dinah, and her last name is spelled Leffert.
2 F's. Leffert.
Leffert. She's a beautiful healer as well as a comedian actress. And I am so happy to have met you. And we're going to play a lot more, I have a feeling.
Right back at you, Brandi. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show. And
Thank
Filippo,
you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And Filippo Voltaggio, please follow the work that they are doing and that he's created with IMPROV-MENT and Life Changes. He has a ton of really great speakers and people who have been through this, who are coming out of their shell now and in support of this movement. Thank you, Filippo, again, for being on the show.
Thank you, Brandi, and thank you for having been on ours.
Yeah, it's time for me to come back on.
Everybody can check Brandi out at lifechangesshow.com. Just put in her name and you'll find the interview we did with her there.
2010. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, how time flies.
Yeah.
Wow, just a baby.
I looked it up. I know. I didn't even know what in the world was going on.
A few volunteer credit hours between then and now.
Right? And Mark, you are my brother and the most beautiful being who I've been watching, and I want to recognize and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So one last time, if you haven't been sharing, and if you guys on this call aren't sharing, find out how. Visit brandivale.com on my blog. There's a lot of links there for you to explore. Time Republic, Yin Currency. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but please visit us. And that's my message. Be true to yourself. Know something is happening. And always seek more. More and more and more. Signing off. Thanks again.
Bye, guys. Good to see you.
Good night.
Good night.